This is the Midnight Radio Show.
Hello and welcome once again to the Midnight Radio Show. This is Preservative Pete, joined always by my two faithful sidekicks. What did John? You sound exasperated.
What's wrong, John?
I don't know. I'm having fun tonight.
That's good. We want you to have fun.
That's
we
the
want
whole
everyone,
point.
Yeah, we want everyone to have fun.
Yeah.
Drew, you're who are you tonight?
I am devilishly handsome Drew.
Ooh, I like that.
That's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a
Better
good
than
one.
Diamond Dallas. I'll say
Yeah,
that much.
that's no,
I don't know.
Watch it.
I think for once, I think I'm just gonna be John because I think Johnny Fingers was a bit much last week.
Why?
It was. Okay, so you got to tone it back, take 2 steps back, take 1 step forward.
Depends on
sort
what
of
girl
thing.
you're talking to, John. That's
True.
Well, thanks, Drew.
Yeah, I'm serious.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's Drew. That was terrible.
It's Drew.
I feel like we have to change personas every podcast. I feel like we're starting.
I just want to be me, Pete.
We're it's not true with ourselves.
Yeah,
I feel like I had
Well,
a good
John
one
is
set up
just
coming
being him tonight.
right.
in. I'm just gonna be John tonight. I'm gonna be
Okay.
Old Faithful.
Old Faithful.
Yeah.
You're a Geyser Johnny. Hey, there you go. Look at that. I just improved everything.
Gross.
Yeah, that is really good.
Well, that's what
How'd you get that nickname?
Hi, Mom.
Those were his college days, and we all know those don't mean anything anymore because we're doing this podcast.
Oh, Jesus.
How was everyone's week? Good.
Pretty good. I had fun. It's my
Busy,
birthday
I
this
think.
week.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy
Drew.
Thank you.
33rd birthday.
Not
Drew.
33.
Yeah. How's getting that prostate checked?
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. I have 3 more years till I have to think about that. Maybe.
Is there an actual age cutoff for that? Where
I
it's
don't
just-
know. I feel like it's sometime after
like-
40.
Yeah, or 35.
35. I'm gonna wait.
Keeps getting younger. Yeah, are you kidding me? I have health insurance. I haven't used it once. I pay for that every week.
Can I
and
pretend to be you and just go to the doctor because I haven't gone? in
We
a while.
look strikingly similar to any of you who are listening right now who have just heard our voices. We're both 6'5",
Right.
vaguely Latino,
Wrong.
muscular.
Yeah,
Wrong.
I'm ripped.
No.
John's calling our bluff.
That's
but,
from all
you
those pub
know,
fries I
he'll
had
do
today.
that.
I know.
Once again, we went to Red Star and got some pub fries.
You know what? I'm
That's what
gonna. Can I leave like a secret message in the podcast?
No. you
Okay.
can't.
Never mind.
Well, like, how would it be secret?
Yeah, how would you
if
make
you're
it
gonna
secret?
I don't
announce it?
know. I don't know.
Okay, so
Are you like
stay
Carol Burnett,
tuned.
or are you gonna like tag?
Well,
me?
because somebody didn't listen to our podcast last week.
Oh,
and
that's
we made a
true.
mention of them.
Well, stay tuned for John's secret message in this podcast.
Jason, I love you to death, sweet cheeks. If you're listening,
I like the pen names. It's like already setting up for a sexual harassment suit within the company. I like that.
do we have an HR department?
This is
here?
what we call
not yet, not yet.
I will be heading it when it happens, though.
Spearheading that.
I assure ye, gentlemen. So I think we had a fun week. We were writing a lot of stuff. Sorry I didn't see as much stuff on the site, but that's all right because we're about to fucking explode in your faces, and it's going to be good. And
That's what she said.
Exactly. Thank you. I said that, and I didn't realize it was sexual. It was already out of my mouth. That's also what she said. Just riffing here.
Hi, Mom.
You need to stop saying hi to your mother on the podcast.
I know, right?
She
It's
loves.
like-
She loves you, John.
I feel like you see her enough. You don't need to say hello to her here as well.
Well, you know what it is? Red Star alters my mood.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Johnny's, as you've probably realized by this point, if you've listened to this podcast, is a big, let's say, like, clientele. Let's say,
Big fan of the hooch.
I don't wanna say a regular
I'm
customer.
a big-time customer.
big
on
time.
Fridays.
I like that. You know what? You know, you can see those local drunks at dive bars where they're just like, it's like he's a regular. It's like, no, he's a big time
Here comes
customer.
Beach.
Yeah, but
I
I'm
like
there
that.
once a week. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's not like I'm there.
It's true.
5
So,
days
But
a
you
week.
make your
And the,
mark
and
when
the
you're
beauty
there.
of not being in, a bar regularly, but if you're just there once a week, is you get the same staff usually because that's when their availability is. Which we had tonight. We had our lovely server once again, or bartender, not
server bartender.
both. She still
serves.
Bartender, server extraordinaire.
She still served you both disco fries, in which
no,
and
not disco fries.
Disco
Pub
fries.
fries.
pub fries. Sorry,
Yeah.
Right.
I
Well,
got-
she served me pub fries, and then John decided to eat.
Well,
half
I was
of
gonna
them.
say,
Well,
I'm
no, I had already had salt and vinegar fries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I need to try those because they sound fantastic.
So delicious.
Yeah.
This
So
is
delicious.
eerily similar to the last podcast. We were just talking about
I
fries.
know.
I was, if you listen to the last one, I would ask right now what type of vinegar goes on the salt and vinegar fries. Is it like the British thing? See, I listen to my material, and that's why you can enjoy this tonight.
I have a bit of new material. Tara Millett's
really?
mom.
Oh,
is-
former guest star of the cast.
Yeah. Tara's. I've used about 50% of my data. Jokes on him. She's the Typhoid Mary of Canada.
What does that mean?
I
John,
don't
put
know.
your phone away.
Drew, you wanna?
Just put your phone away,
Drew,
John.
take it.
At least you
Take
put it on silent this time.
Yeah, it is on site. Well, listen, who's
You're on probation.
Oh, fuck you. Who doesn't like the Metal Gear Solid ringtone though?
You have the explanation point sort
Yeah,
of thing,
the
like the bling. Yeah, when they notice you when you're, in a crate or what have you.
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
you
yeah.
might be doing.
I love it. People always ask me what it is. I'm like, what is that? That's so kind of cool.
There are a lot of good ones.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's the codec call.
Oh, okay, that's good. I think the other call might be better though. Now I think
It
about
might be.
It might be.
I don't know.
Well, there's only one way to find out. You gotta get that on your phone, son.
So, Drew, tell us about your new apartment.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's in Astoria, back in the old
Scenic
stomping
Astoria.
Oh
grounds.
my God! Can you just
Scenic.
talk up a little bit? I can't hear you.
It's very
Oh my
good. It's a very nice area. I'm a block away from my favorite falafel guy.
That's
Our favorite falafel.
king
guy.
of falafel.
The king.
The
Let's
king?
give the king of falafel a shout out, right?
This is America. God damn it! I don't know
Yeah,
why.
but he makes some fucking awesome falafel and chicken
All right, so
rice.
pro monarchy. That's like where we're going with this.
This
Yeah.
podcast is brought to you by
The king of falafel.
Yeah, I'm a little upset in many respects that we couldn't really come to common ground last time about Independence Day.
Mm.
It
happens.
I think it's an agree to disagree sort of
Yeah, agree to
situation.
disagree.
Drew and I came to a conclusion on one thing, though.
What's that?
What's that?
We both love King of Falafel.
That's true. We
That's
do.
true.
High five, Drew.
We both have T-shirts.
And
too.
when the aliens power bombed that in that movie, I'm just trying to relate.
Well,
it
it's a
back.
stand. If they powerbomb a stand, they're fucking idiots.
right,
It's
Right.
so delicious.
it'd be dumb to.
Well,
put
you
all the-
guys could have died on that skyscraper at the beginning with that like stripper chick, but
Oh,
you would have
don't-
been, but you would have been holding a sign that said "I love King of Falafel" instead of like "Beam me up, Scotty" or whatever the hell.
Don't-
sitting there eating the chicken.
For some reason-
not even.
Yo, dude, you want to eat King of Falafel tonight? Yes. While being killed by our out-of-world invaders? Double yes.
We wouldn't have even known.
Don't bring us back into this, Pete.
I
Please,
won't.
for
I
the
won't.
love
I
of
won't because I'm gonna bring you into some other stuff tonight.
Pete,
Ooh.
tell us how your week was.
Yeah, well,
My week was tumultuous at best,
tumultuous at best.
sexually, professionally, and personally. It was tumultuous. I'm looking at you, ladies, employees, and dad.
You know what? Oh, you know what? Now I remember the story I wanted to tell you. Red
lay it on us.
I have a friend who recently started online dating.
You were telling me it was like with this new avant-garde app.
No,
Maybe
it's
not.
an
I'm
app
not
at
up with
all.
the.
You were talking to me about Tinder.
I was. I don't use
told
it,
you.
but I've heard it's all the rage.
You should.
Done.
Anywho, now I remember. You know what it was? I was sitting there with him. He will not be named.
Okay.
That's
fair.
Drew, you're looking at me like it's
It's Rob
me.
Thomas.
it's
It's not Rob Thomas.
It's
We
not
love
Rob Thomas. It's not me.
It's probably me. That's why.
It's Pete.
It's
It's
the
Pete
passive-aggressive
Mutino.
nature.
It's
Okay.
Pete Mutino, professor of podcast.
So what-
at
so
the
what
Night
did Pete
Tree
do?
House. No, it's not what Pete did.
I
It's somebody was showing me it, and I remember that party you took me to a couple weeks ago.
Right.
I was talking to this girl. I was like, "What do you want to be?" I was like, "What do you want to do with your life?" Because I think that's pretty common that you ask people, like, "Oh, hey, what are your goals?"
Right.
She goes, "I want to be a foodie."
Is that-
I was like, "What's a foodie?"
Is that a career path though?
I don't know.
I'm a foodie. That doesn't mean I get make money off it.
Well,
I just gain
wait,
weight from it.
So, all right, can you explain what a foodie is?
Well, if you're a regular king of falafel, like in the foodie community, I think that would be frowned upon.
Wait, but what is foodie? What is a foodie?
I think a foodie is someone who just really enjoys food and likes trying all different kinds of food.
Right.
So,
Trying
so they're
different
like the new
restaurants and-
kind of food reviewer.
But
I
yeah, but
guess,
the idea
he-
is that you try enough and you eventually become an expert on like where it's coming from. You actually research it, sort of
Right.
stuff like that. I think is the nomenclature. They could have come up with a better name. That's my
Yeah,
grand
foodie's a-
summation here.
It's
Yeah.
a terrible name.
Well, anywho,
Yeah, just like what do you study? That's like being like it's like what do you study? It's like
I study machinima.
But if someone says,
Yeah, so maybe it's like so I'm machinima E. Like it's a very cop out term for
It's
someone
kinda-
that's supposed to be sought after.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
so if someone says like, I'm a foodie, could I just be like, what do you do? It's like I'm a foodie, or you could just say I gain weight like a lot because I have
It's a good out. It's a hard out.
No, but finally, I remember what I was going to tell you. Red Star, this
Mhm.
podcast.
Let's try it
by
again.
Red Star.
Working on it.
My friend was showing me some girl. She's like, I want to be a foodie, and I wanted to be like, sweetheart, nobody gives a shit what foodie means. Like seriously?
You didn't actually say that though. I'm sure you were very kind. You're a gentleman, Johnny.
No.
He was actually like, really? That's so interesting.
Yeah, you were.
I want to gain weight. I want to gain weight with you too. This is amazing.
But in his head, he's like, shut the fuck up.
Me too. Have you seen this?
I saw the
gesturing to
word
his lower
foodie.
parts.
It's like it's like saying, because we're in web production, we produce short skits and stuff like that, and then it's just like, oh, we're movie.
It'd be like movie-y. It'd be like what you do. It'd be like, I'm a filmy. I'm a cinema-y.
I'm a webcasty.
Yeah.
It's one of the laziest terms ever, and that's why all foodies are overweight, because they eat too much and they're lazy in naming things.
Well,
Guilty.
the first foodie I met was not overweight.
Really?
Yeah.
I have met some very in-shape foodies.
Well, she said she wanted to be a foodie. she
So
wasn't a
aspiring
yet.
foodie.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aspiring overweight person.
Well, I aspire to figure out what you gentlemen think about. You guys were talking last week about Independence Day.
We were.
Oh, not this
And I'm not going to
again.
bring it back into it because we know that's an old chestnut we don't want to crack. That was my morning radio homage for the cast.
I keep hitting
I
my
think it
headphones.
happens like 12 times a cast. I will.
There's nothing wrong
admit
with it.
that.
Let it happen.
Yeah, just let it
happen.
ride. Let it
No.
ride,
It's all right.
baby.
It's all good.
No.
But I actually want to talk to you guys because you were talking about the president's speech in Independence Day, and there was a bit of butting heads. We're not going to get into that. However, I think hero speeches get heralded a lot more, so I want to talk to you guys about villain speeches.
Nice.
And we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to duke that out, or at least just discuss it. It
Stay
doesn't always have to be
tuned.
angry. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Midnight Radio Show. Coming live from the treehouse, it's the Midnight Radio Show. Welcome back to the Midnight Radio Show. We're going to discuss
Hi.
some
Jesus
villainry
Christ.
and how it's applied in movies. But before that, during the break, and this is not a joke,
not.
John was just, he has ice in a cup, and now he's just chewing the cup. Like, the ice is gone, so he resorted to cup chewing. It's a styrofoam, like, sort of McDonald's-y cup.
Here, we'll take a picture.
He's chewing
of
right
the
now.
website.
You will see a photo.
No, we won't take any pictures.
John, stop being a
What?
baby.
John, I understand the fixation with ice, but why chewing the actual cup, like eating the cup?
Yeah.
It's just like an oral fixation?
John
you are,
has
you,
a-
you,
John
you
has
are
I
a
don't know.
smoker, so I suppose that oral fixation
Oh,
is that.
no, I don't smoke cigarettes.
You don't? I thought you
No.
did. Maybe I'm confusing with my other friend, John.
Yeah, you're convincing me. with your other
It
friend,
happens.
John. I don't smoke cigarettes at all. I do heroin.
Okay.
Black
I
tar.
confuse those a lot.
I do meth.
Consistently.
No, not methamphetamine.
Meth,
That's a little too
heroin,
intense.
but no cigarettes.
No cigarettes.
No thank
Cigarettes
you.
are terrible for you.
Right.
You know?
I stay away
I
from
go
that
running.
stuff.
I go running 4 times a week.
All right, ladies, go get it. So let's.
No, don't come get it. I still.
Because he reeks of cigarettes. Because he rubs them all
I
over
reek
his body.
I reek of black tar heroin.
You do. You do both.
Yeah, I
both.
do.
It's what we
Yeah.
call the Kurt Cobain smell. Ode to Cobain.
Oh my god. Can
So what we're talking about here right now is villain speeches. So here's what got me thinking about this is you were talking about the president's speech in Independence Day, and I think that's like a reputed speech, I guess it would be. It's called back to a lot. People remember that speech.
Right.
And I think that happens.
no.
Oh, I know. All right, let's not get into that. Old chestnut again. Old morning radio. But I think people remember hero speeches. Like when I think of, triumphant sort of heroic speeches, I think of that speech, at the end of the Return of the King or something like that, where they're going,
Right.
this is not this day, sort of thing. A lot of mention of
Yeah.
days, now that I think about
Yeah,
it.
right.
This is our Independence Day.
They won't take our freedom.
Exactly.
Braveheart.
Or like-
Braveheart.
or like,
Exactly. It's something to
in the
rally the
current.
troops. But when,
Right.
but
in the current, it's like a Pacific Rim. It's like we are canceling the apocalypse.
Right. But I think those get heralded a lot. But I think villains have some pretty good speeches themselves,
I agree.
and I think it'd be cool to kind of discuss which ones you like or don't like, and I think eventually what the core of this discussion would be is what really makes a villain at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Or a villain that we can appreciate and want to watch again. Like think of your timeless villain and think of the best scene they've been in. You know what I mean? Because when you think of an actual speech that a villain gives, you think of your typical Bond villain. You know what I mean? You think of like the villain who's just like, I have you in my lair, and here's how everything will go down, sort of thing.
Did you guys see
I did.
Skyfall?
I really enjoyed it.
Javier Bardem had that great speech in Skyfall. When
Exactly.
He had, like, the server
And I think that
room.
would be a great example of it, because in this one, it's an homage to the older Bond sort of monologues. But I like it in this one, we get our first gay Bond villain, and it's not obtrusive. It's not something that they're trying to be like, look how gay he is. It's just like a little wink, wink. It's like, this guy is gay. He's literally filling up Bond's thighs and makes that kind of sexual remark at him, and Bond's just like, what makes you think this is my first time? And I love that because the villain has revealed something kind of vulnerable or different about our hero. Because it's like, and it makes sense in this kind of gritty new world that Bond is in, where it's like, well, yeah, he's a secret agent. It's probably been like, you have to seduce this dude, sleep with him, and then get the code or whatever, or the disc.
What?
You know?
I'm sure this isn't
Or
a
the
spoiler
dick.
by this
Sorry.
by this.
It's a
point.
Bond movie. There are no real spoilers. You know, like the villain will die.
No, but they kind of killed the Bond girl halfway through the movie.
Right, but that's
Like that was kind of like a big surprise because if you think about it, at least in Quantum of Solace, she doesn't die till the end of the movie. Jasper's her name, right?
right. But there have been former Bond movies where the girl has died. Think of
But he was like
not well
her
received
main
ones.
squeeze.
I will concede, but like think of like The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah,
Not The Spy Who Loved Me. I'm sorry. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. The
I need to. I have Bond. I have the Bond.
You do, and I actually stare at the DVD collection when I'm in your house, and I always look at George Lazenby's face and wonder what could have been. Drew, though, you said you had a speech that you thought was particularly one of your faves, or had some.
Yeah. One of my favorites is actually from what is it, The Dark Knight?
Okay.
Heath Ledger, when he gives his speech about why he uses knives instead of guns.
Really
to kill
good
people.
example, and I think that's why it's such a potent villain, because as opposed to actually telling the plan or revealing plan, as I said, like the old homage to the Bond villain. What I like about Heath Ledger's Joker and his speeches in there is we get a lot of ambiguous insight into his character.
And so many just like layers
And we don't know.
and
But
levels
the thing
to
is,
that
because we have a
character.
psychopathic character, but the speech I always think of. I mean, that scene where he has the knife instead of guns is really good. I love that first. Why so serious? Where he looks at the other guy and slashes the other guy's mouth when he's telling the story about his father. But I like how the story about his father changes multiple times. I think that's really interesting. It's like, so is he lying? Is he just like a sociopath?
Well, that's actually a callback to the Killing Joke, the graphic
Interesting.
novel. It's the Killing Joke. For those who haven't read it, it's kind of like the origin of the Joker. And
Do tell, because I actually don't know this.
the Killing Joke is kind of like it's kind of like a dual story. So it's like, they cover the origin of the Joker and how he became the Joker, and then they cover like his most sadistic plot against Batman. And there's actually a line in the Killing Joke where it's like, well, you know, he goes, I don't remember things exactly, but and then he says, sometimes I remember one way, sometimes I remember in another way.
Oh, okay.
But if I had a story to tell, I'd prefer it to be multiple choice.
Right.
And you know, not to be too overstepping of the whole villain.
No, that
speeches
is a
thing.
villain speech, though. Even though it's in comics, that's what the movie drew from.
It's actually funny. They actually, I think today I saw on a German website. I know
You just look at German websites.
No, they actually
Germany.com.
they did a documentary with Heath Ledger's dad, and they showed the whole Joker diary.
Okay, because he got really
Yeah.
in depth about it, right? He was more of a
Yeah, you
method
see what he's
sort of
writing.
guy.
You saw what he was writing about. Like he was really into like the Clockwork Orange.
Didn't he lock himself in like a hotel room?
hotel
or
room.
Now it
something?
makes me
Come on.
wonder, based on the way he passed away. It's like I wonder if he was already in that state, or if it kind of it just lined up perfectly to make the best performance of all time, right before he finally, unfortunately, passed away. But
Listen, I think Jack Nicholson's great in a lot of shit, and I think he was a great original Joker.
yeah,
but
different
I think-
take, you know.
I think Jack Nicholson's full of bullshit. Like I think he kind of took it the wrong way when Ledger died. Like Jack Nicholson, I feel like Jack Nicholson leached onto that fame. He was like, I told Ledger not to do it because it would drive him crazy.
Yeah, there's
So
just
he
that
warned
one
him,
red
I think
carpet
that's a
thing in
load of
London.
bullshit.
It's just like it is him saying it, but he just said, "I told him not to do it," and he never says because it would drive him crazy. It's just like I told him not to do it.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I-
It might
I
be
think-
like a totally different thing. They were like hanging on a Sunday afternoon. And he's like, "Oh, but you have that other film. You should not do that." You know?
yeah, well, no, but in all seriousness, like in the context of things, it's like Nicholson was like, I told him not to do the Joker. It was a really dark, deep role.
So
or
maybe
shit
he
like
knew something
that.
personally about him, though. It's like, well, you're gonna play this psychopath when you should probably be focusing on yourself. Like, go do the fluffy romance comedy or what have you.
Isn't that the point of actors though? To tell
Oh, it
yourself
absolutely
to-
is.
to
But it's also the
do
point to like
the best role you
not
can.
die.
I mean,
but actually, at another point, it is almost better to die because then you win the Oscar by default.
no. I'm not saying. Oh, okay, yeah.
It is. It's going out with a bang.
But look, you can't deny that that's going out with a bang. But you know, we might have discussed before that I'm a psychologist in training, and I don't think that the role drove him to like psychosis.
It must have
to
already
kill
been
himself.
kicking around in there. It's not just like I'm going to study this role and he got so method for his own good. That seems very
yeah,
unlikely
exactly.
to
That
me.
he just started to start taking pills and all this
Absolutely.
stuff and
Hanging out with the Olsen
I
twins.
will say I
and
do remember
fucking his
circa
life
2
up.
years ago because I had heard that Jack Nicholson, disadvising Heath Ledger against playing the role.
Right.
the top hit was a clip just of Jack Nicholson. It was just a still photo, but it was a clip of him as the Joker from the original Batman. He's like, I hope you did. Like, I hope you're dead. And it's like with that was like the clip. Like, it was very hokey and internet-y, but it was really good for a laugh at the time.
I'm sorry, Jason. I'm sorry. I'm getting off topic.
No, we'll bring
but
it back.
I'm gonna
No,
do
but it's just
I'm gonna
an interesting thing to go
I'm
into.
going to get off topic.
It is
anyway.
one of the most best it's like one of the best portrayals of contemporary villain I've seen recently.
Yeah.
It is.
Or at least
You
it
know
sticks with
what?
people as the cultural resident.
Like I've said before in the podcast, I am one of the biggest Batman.
Yeah,
fans
you did,
here.
yeah.
And I'll never forget where I was driving when I heard that
I was at
Ledger
a pizza place.
Yeah.
I was at Husky Pizza in Storrs, Connecticut. Yes.
Do you really remember?
Yeah, I do.
I was on Chestnut Street by Doubleday train station by my house. I was driving home, and I remember I heard, oh, Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker. I said, what?
Yeah, it was a little odd.
I said the exact
I remember
same
Sean
thing.
Penn
I
was
was
rumored
like,
to be the
oh,
original
no.
one. I remember that rumor.
Well, Robin Williams as
Ooh,
well.
that'd be interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So when I heard Heath Ledger, I said, oh, what the I said, I trust Nolan as a filmmaker because we're going to discuss one of his films
Yes, we
later
are.
tonight. But, when I heard Heath Ledger, I said, oh, my God. I said, what are they doing? I said, I like Heath Ledger as an actor.
Right.
But I didn't think he could portray
No,
the role.
not at all.
No, but none of us thought
Yeah.
of it.
Until I heard the laugh. When I heard the laugh in the teaser, then I was like,
Ah.
might be okay.
Yeah,
might be
and
okay.
also it's like
you
young
know?
stud actor coming up who's actually been in mostly well-received or well-reputed films.
Rom-coms.
Well, he
Right.
was in
Yeah.
rom-coms, but he was always very good. He was charismatic, and he could tell he changed for each part he played. He immersed
Right.
himself, like even A Knight's Tale, like kind of a campy, rompy sort of fun movie. Anything with Alan Tudyk in it, like immediately I'm like, oh, it's the best movie ever. It's my own weakness, but not the best movie ever. But it's like he changes who he is, and he has a good sense of timing. And then it was like, so how is this gonna play out? It was more like that, and my instincts, I was like, oh, rom-com jackass, like, ugh, this is gonna suck.
Well, and that leads me to my next point. You know what the thing was? And like I said, I'm a huge Batman fan, and I know the Joker. Like, he's a sadistic maniac, and that he, despite the fact, it's weird to see a hero and a villain, that the hero's big and
Right.
brutish, and the villain's like really small and
That was the best
scrawny
part
and
about it.
Lanky
But
and
he's very witty. The villain
He's
is
witty and will stop at nothing. That's my favorite part. It's just like he's on another level of humanity. He just
doesn't care.
Yeah, but he cares
Another-
enough to destroy it. That's the other thing. It's like you
Right.
think that guy would have committed suicide, but like something happened along the way where he was like, no, I've already gone past that like negative plane. I'm past zero. I'm just gonna attack.
Yeah, and that's the point of all the chaotic speeches. But the thing is, it's just like one thing I hate is how people latch on to iterations of things. So it's like I've read the Batman comics,
Right.
and I've read how sick the Joker is, and all this stuff, and then it's just like everyone's like, "Oh, Heath Ledger is the Joker." And it's just like if you see where, like I said, I was watching the inspirational thing, Ledger's journal for it. He had like little comic clips from earlier Batmans, and he kind of took it and twisted
So
it
in a
to
way,
his own
isn't he kind of that though? Because it might be just a case of the times, but it's like he had the most Jokers to draw from, and it was the guy willing to draw from all of them, or at least research.
Yeah,
extended research.
yeah,
Because
he
Nicholson
was
was
the
probably
guy-
just like, how do I play a psychopathic clown, and nailed it because he's amazing. But
Yeah.
Ledger is more of he was a younger guy, probably grew up with these incarnations in some way of the comics.
He researched the part. He said, "How can I just take these kind of funny, campy things from the older
Right.
comics and make
And
them really sick and
you know what?
twisted?"
I'm actually glad that we got fixated on the actual Joker. I would love to actually go back into this and more great villains of all time. I think it would be a
Yeah.
fun thing to discuss. But Drew, the thing that initially brought us here was the actual why he uses knives versus guns. And why does that resonate with you? Like, what was it? Just like the coolness of it, or was there?
No, it was just because like you're watching him talk and just the enjoyment that this crazy person gets out of seeing people, slowly die, and he's getting into all the details, like when people's last seconds, you
Who
see
they really are.
who they
Yeah.
really are.
You get
know,
that?
like,
It's
he
like- it
gets,
gives
he
you a
gets
li-
like jollies
It gives
off
you a little
that,
chill,
you know?
doesn't it?
Yeah, it sent this like creepy chill down your spine, just to watch him talk like that, and just the intensity on his face and just everything. It was so just the whole scene. was
Absolutely,
amazing.
certainly agree.
It was all just phenomenal. Like when I walked into that theater, I saw the show at midnight on opening day. I saw all 3 movies at midnight. when I first saw the Joker, it was just like, holy.
Did you
shit.
see that? Remember, I think it was I Am Legend was coming out, and before I Am Legend aired, they showed the first scene for the new Dark Knight.
Oh,
Did you see that?
Not see that.
We went to
no,
go see that because half the reason
I actually
went to go
did see that.
Legend,
I Am Legend, yeah.
right? Half the reason I went, half the reason I went
Was
to go
to see
I Am
that
Legend
trailer.
was to see
Okay.
that, And I'm sitting there I went with one of my friends, and we watched the whole thing, and she's like a chick who wasn't a very big comic book fan, whatever. And some guy in the crowd goes, "I think I just came." After the
Oh,
whole
yeah,
thing's
it was
over.
amazing.
And she leans over, she goes, "So did I." even people who didn't like comic
Well,
book
and I
stuff
think that was partially why they cast Ledger too, because it was kind of the rom-com thing we're talking about too. It's like we're going to see this guy flex. He's obviously he's going to flex these acting muscles that are fucking
Right.
fantastic, and also he has the appeal, and it's an avant-garde choice, and they blew it out of the water. And it's amazing. And kind of going back to the actual speeches in it, the dialogue they just gave him, he just chewed it up, and they gave him really good dialogue as well.
Those have to be I know we're fixated on it now, but I think those Joker monologues have to be some of the best monologues.
Oh,
I've heard.
exactly. And the reason we're
Any
fixated
movie.
on it is because it's hyper representative of what we were talking about initially. This is a film where Batman might as well go fucking suck on a dick, pardon my language. Because his only two lines in the movie were like, "Where's the drugs going?" Basically. It sounds like he has throat cancer the whole movie.
That was Batman. Begins.
Yeah, but Batman I actually watched both movies back to back.
got worse and
The first
worse.
one he's just like, "I'm like you, someone to rattle the cages." And the second one's like, it's like dropping, Julia Roberts'
He's
brother
incredibly
off a
constipated.
building. It was weird. That is actually him.
What's
That, Eric Roberts, I think.
Eric
He started it.
Roberts.
I think he had to
Eric.
start in the Mr. Brightside video for the Killers. I'm not even kidding you. But bring it back. Sad that I remember that. But
Any
but
podcast
the
where Eric
fact is that
Roberts
the
is
villain is so prominent. It's like his speeches are what stick with you, and I think that's a good example of why a villain's speech is more important than the protagonist in a lot of ways.
I think this. Well, to
Gives it
kinda
tension.
Help you with your point. It
I really
kind
love
of
John.
it. No, but you know what? It helps prove the point of the villain, and it helps humanize the villain a bit.
Absolutely true.
But and I'm gonna harken back because I
Love
just-
them
I'm a boner.
comics.
I love Batman. That opening scene, I have to say, in The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises.
The what
those
doesn't kill you
opening
makes you
scenes-
stranger sort of thing.
Yeah, but you know what it is? That opening shot when you see him on the street
Mhm.
with
Holding-
his
holding
suit,
the
and he's
mask.
just holding the mask.
Yeah.
And
I also love the homage, even though sorry to interrupt, but unless do you want to finish or
No,
but
go on.
I like the homage in that one that I could tell they were bringing in. It was a very well constructed movie. Nolan's a
Yeah.
very clever director, but they did it was almost an homage to. I feel like to set the scene for old school comic book fans before it got into this dark Nolan-esque universe. Because literally that first scene, all the thugs working for the Joker who don't know who he is are literally just talking why do you think they call him the Joker? All of them have
That
it,
was
so it's they're goons. I love
I hear
that.
he wears a
Yeah,
mask.
exactly.
But the
I thought
thing
was
is,
actually a
you-
really
War
good
paint.
choice.
Yeah.
You get to see the humanity of this villain for one brief second where he's just standing on that street corner in Gotham. And you get to see, this is a guy who's just a psychopath. Cause
And
the
he
thing
and he
is,
could have
think about it.
died in that heist. He just rolled the
He
dice.
could've.
He doesn't care.
Easily.
But he wants to keep running away.
But when you see him take his mask off when he goes to the bank teller, what doesn't kill you makes you stranger, he's wearing the mat. He's wearing the
Yeah.
paint on his face. So that means he has to be, right before he's picked up by the other two clowns in the car.
He's just standing there.
He's just standing there with that
Yeah.
face paint.
He's just
on.
going to work.
Balls to the wall,
And
man.
we get
I
to
mean,
see
and
that
it's
through
just-
his dialogue, which I think is beautiful. And then not even dialogue, monologue, I should even say, because it's literally when that character was speaking in those films, everyone else is shut the fuck up. They realized Ledger
Yeah.
was going to nail it. They had really well written stuff, and they were just going to let it ride with some creepy music underneath it. And
I think-
they got a great tension release sort of thing.
I think the magic trick scene when he's like, "You want him?"
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And he's actually funny in it, too. We get to see a character, be versatile. And I think that's why villains, especially in the sort of comic book or hero genre, are what make the film. And I think that's kind of what we were exploring here. I think we should definitely come back to this topic next cast.
Yes, definitely.
But we were talking about Christopher Nolan. We're going to talk about a movie not so much with a villain, but really kind of sort of his clever artistry. We're going to take a really quick break, and we'll be right back with more Midnight Radio Show. Straight from the treehouse, it's the Midnight Radio Show with John, Drew, and Pete.
Hello, and welcome back to another exciting segment of the Midnight Radio Show.
It is a segment, yeah, I suppose. This is the third segment.
Our patented break.
Patented. We should patent it.
No, we shouldn't.
Do other podcasts have official breaks? Because we could get in on this shit on the ground level, and then it's like, hey, bitch, you taking breaks? You got to pay us now.
No,
Bitch.
no.
It's
All
just a thought.
Okay, what do you want to talk about? Pete has a very distinctive thing he wants to talk about.
Well, yeah. Well,
I know, great
it
setup,
sounded
right?
so angry. Jonathan.
Fuck. Don't call me Jonathan.
Oh, okay.
That's not my name.
We found his kryptonite.
That is my
Oh.
kryptonite.
Jonathan Fingers. The third Esquire.
That's what the ladies call him.
Well, we were just talking. We actually went into the Dark Knight quite a bit, and just kind of, and a lot of stuff that came up was, at least on my angle, was how Nolan decided to go with it. But last cast, if you listen to it, we were going to talk about Memento. For those of you who aren't familiar, Memento was released in 2000. I think it actually came out in 2001 officially. It's basically tagged as a psychological thriller. It's one of Nolan's earlier works. It's actually based on a script that his brother wrote.
I think it was a short.
Story
Yeah.
called Memento Mori. It basically covers a man. The story covers this man who cannot really. He has this short-term memory
loss.
basically, and the mementos he leaves to himself to kind of recover what's going on in his very bizarre, whacked-out life. So, gentlemen, what did you think of Memento?
You know, I've watched Memento probably 100 times just to get
Really?
it.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier you actually had like a printed out timeline,
I-
which is actually kind of what similar fashion. I think we had brought this before when we reviewed God, what was it called? The
Prestige.
no, not the Prestige, the one also Nolan. Interestingly enough,
I know.
Two
Oh,
Nolans
layer
under the-
cake.
Layer cake.
Yeah, we do a lot of Nolan on this cast. This is the Christopher Nolan podcast. Welcome back.
Anywho, I wouldn't say I've watched Memento 100 times, but I am a huge fan of the film, and I think it's one of the. In all honesty, I think it's one of the greatest stories ever told out of order.
Okay.
Because the thing is, you have to look at Memento. Memento is two stories. It's the story going in forward. It's happening linear, and then it's happening in reverse.
Right.
The phone conversations and the color. The color sequences are happening in reverse. The black and white sequences are happening forwards. And I just think, I think it's safe to say for any of us, Nolan is, I think he's just one of the greatest filmmakers of our time.
Now, it's interesting because you were very iffy about The Prestige.
The Prestige is one of my least favorite movies due to the content.
Of Nolan's, not one
Of
of your least favorite
Nolan's.
movies.
No,
Okay.
no. Well, listen, he still made a good movie. The Prestige isn't a badly made movie. It's a very good movie. I just don't particularly enjoy the content.
Now, what's
of The
interesting about
Prestige.
this film, it's really almost, if we could partition his career into anything, this is old school Nolan in the fact of the aesthetic. It's the colors look very different. It's obviously shot differently because Nolan, like even by The Prestige, is kind of like what we see in The Dark Knight, Dark
Right.
Knight Rises. That sort of aesthetic and also core cast. And if you notice, like in Memento, it's like kind of this older core cast before he, because he does have his go-to actors. I think that's a given. I don't think that's even debatable.
Well, I think the core actors happened after Batman.
right, but if you look at it, the guy, the actor, kind of the curly-haired guy who plays the bellhop, he's also in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he was also in Batman Begins, so it was almost like Batman Begins was kind of his launch-off point between that. He's the guy who's like, "What, you don't like falafel?" sort of guy.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
stealing
yeah.
from the falafel vendor.
Well, you know what the thing is? It's just like any good callback to any actor you've used. It's just like
Right.
a small bit part because you like them and you kind of think of them in mind while you're writing it.
Sure.
Otherwise, I think Nolan got a stride with his like cast
Right.
after Batman.
And at the same time, though, this is a very different. Memento is a very different style of movie. We get to see it's a bit more structured, like a true. It's deemed as a thriller, which is
structure.
the structure's all over the place intentionally. That's kind of what the movie is about. Drew, before
Yeah.
we delve into this, what were your impressions of Memento?
Well, before I saw Memento, I knew that it was like one of those like out of order type movies, and the only
Right.
other kind of movie that I saw like that was 21 Grams.
Okay.
What about Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Oh, well, that's true,
because
yeah,
when
Pulp
you said the
Fiction,
greatest
so-
out of order films of all time, I immediately was thinking of early Tarantino.
Well,
But-
I immediately thought 21 Grams, which if that movie had been in order, I would have enjoyed so much better.
Interesting.
So
Now, did you feel that way about Memento?
No, I love that it. I think because they pulled that whole thing off perfectly. I think because you're
Right.
still able to follow everything, and it all kind of just flowed.
And the
Memento.
reveal, and
yeah,
the,
in Memento. Yeah,
and the reveal is kind of what's fun about it,
Right.
In its nature. Like, I haven't seen 21 Grams, but I imagine it's almost like it's shot out of order
the
because
reveal's not even that good. Like
it's
I
like
didn't-
because we decided to shoot it out of order.
just we
as
thought
a
it would be cool
as a stylistic
yeah,
choice.
it was
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
unnecessary.
Well, the thing is, when you look at timeline films like that, when they're structured like that, you have to have your structure down to a T. There's
Right.
no doubt
Right.
about it that
but don't do it unless it's necessary. Like
Well,
in 21 Grams, it
exactly.
wasn't necessary.
I've never seen 21 Grams.
Watch it. It's
I will.
it's so good if they put it in fucking order.
But
I don't-
see, that's the point of Pulp Fiction.
Right.
Pulp Fiction is kind of like pulpy stories told, and by the end of the movie, he starts connecting all the stories.
Right, and there's I think there's a fundamental something in film goers or TV watchers or what have you where they enjoy something out of order and to see how it all syncs up. Like
Right.
I've been watching it recently, but the new Arrested Development is kind of like that, and that was something that I think was so interesting about that show is like all the jokes overlap, and then you kind of see when it was all happening.
right.
When they do the callbacks, and Memento, it kind of reminds me of that.
I think that Memento is one of the best representations of interrogative amnesia, which I talked about.
Right.
And, like I said, I'm a studying psychologist, ladies.
Hey, get it. And he runs every day. Why are you waiting? Jump now.
I run 5 days a week. Not
That's every day. Every
Almost.
business day.
But anywho, as a psychologist, you see a lot of movies where they like play out the amnesia card. It's like, oh, the character has amnesia. They're like, I don't know who I am. But Memento, it doesn't play that kind of like gritty, like, oh, I have amnesia. I don't remember who I am. They're kind of, and Drew, you watched it for the first time today.
Today,
actually.
yeah.
There are scenes where you're actually like, and I'm going to ask you a question. There were scenes where you're like, what's happening?
Oh, most definitely.
And you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what interrogative amnesia is. You're just like, you're sitting somewhere and you finally like come to the realization that you wake up again and you're like what?
And we get a lot of the sense of this bizarre torture yet need to carry on of this guy who cannot remember anything past a certain point, which is good because what I would compare this movie to in not similar stylization necessarily, but in plot structure would be if you guys have ever seen The Machinist with Christian Bale.
Yes.
And also, it's interesting that Nolan picked Bale to, be his next star actor in basically every fucking thing he does. But
Only
Batman.
four movies.
yeah,
The 3 Batman movies in the Prestige.
yeah, which is quite a bit. If
Yeah,
that's a lot of
I don't
money.
think
You
I'm
have to-
overstepping the line here.
Well, you have to remember that
he went to that
the
well.
Warner Bros. Studios, they signed them on for X amount of films. It's not
Right.
like-
But
it's not
also
like-
the Prestige, though. He's basically our protagonist.
Well, he is the protagonist in the Prestige, but like I said, you have to remember that when Warner Brothers signed that deal for Batman and Bale signed that deal for Batman, he signed on for 3 movies for almost like 7 years.
Right.
But
But it's almost it almost reeks. So it's like, oh, I just made a movie like that, and that guy starred in it. He's going to be Batman.
yeah,
it almost felt.
well.
like
No,
that.
actually, Batman Begins came before the Prestige.
No, I meant The Machinist. The fact they saw him in that.
so
And
he
it's
played
like, oh,
something
he kind
similar.
of yeah.
Yeah,
The Machinist, if you're not familiar, is kind of a similar sort of movie. It's a guy who, it's the sort of thing where he doesn't really remember what has happened. And it's the reveal and his journey about how he doesn't know what's going on. Now, in Memento, Guy Pearce's character, who's the lead, is more someone trying to piece together his memory. He doesn't really remember quite what happened, and he's kind of leaving himself clues as we see out of order what happens in his life.
it's. I'm gonna counterpoint that. I mean, I think you're kind of right. I don't think that he's trying to piece together what happened, but he's just trying to. You know what it is? That amnesia plot device is very good. It's very well done because it's not that
Who he is.
It's no, because remember, there's a line in the movie. He goes, "I remember who I am."
I'm
and
from
what
San Francisco.
Yeah, I remember what I'm doing. I remember what happened to me and what brought me to this.
Well,
moment.
I think not who he is, like literally, but like who he has become almost.
Well, that's we have to kind of vet that whole thing out and start from a point, because the thing is, you're right. It's just like kind of trying to see what he's become and not what he was,
Right.
which is mentioned by Teddy in the movie. It's like you don't remember. You remember who you were, but you don't remember what you've become.
Fair enough.
And I think that's one of the great lines of the movie at the end where he goes, "Do I lie to myself to make myself happy?"
Mm.
And I think that's kind of the whole overall arcing point with the whole subplot with Sammy Jenkins. And
Right. And I think that's like the nod to, I think that's the overall statement they're planning to make. It's like, do we all do this every day? And we display it through this guy who's going through this crazy turmoil, you know, and having to relive it every day and rediscover it, basically.
well, how about we start from one point, like a focal point. So Memento is told in reverse.
Right.
It's told in a linear fashion and a reverse at the same
Well,
time.
we see basically the worst at the onset, and we're trying to get back to that point. It's
how it all began.
yeah, it's like why do
How
we
it
see
got
why
to
do we
that.
see this initial image when we don't know what the movie's about, and then working our way back to that.
Why did they kill that guy from The Matrix?
Exactly, he was so good in The Matrix. Why would they kill him?
Well, what happens is they tell the black and white sequences, which are the forward sequences,
Mhm.
and then they tell the color sequences, or the sequences that are happening in reverse, and they eventually come to a point where you're like, oh.
Which was a good choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where when I think about something like The Machinist, where it's all kind of drab and dreary intentionally throughout it,
It's all
nice that we-
forward telling.
yeah,
though,
this
too.
was a much more visual movie in the sense that the visuals actually told us something about what's going on.
I have a question. How do you feel about how he tells the story? Like every few seconds, in the beginning, he cuts a few seconds forward, and then he gets to the point, but then he starts cutting more and more seconds from that point. So it's like when he meets Teddy and he shoots, you see him shoot Teddy,
Right.
and then it cuts to him waking up in the hotel room and then meeting Teddy outside, and then it cuts to him meeting with Carrie Ann Moss, who I would totally do in Memento.
Oh yeah.
She's kind
See,
of a bitch now.
that phrase really degrades me because there were so many people I'd be like, yeah, why not? But
Yeah. But like each time he cuts seconds off the ending.
right, and I think it's a cool choice. Just in the fact that we get to see that we discover it as the character does almost because he's living clues for himself.
Yeah.
Which I think is really good. And I think the reason we do movies right now, I mean, because we're not going to theaters every week to see, the latest release, but these are basically the way I look at this is we go back and see movies that are worth revisiting that most people have heard about. And I think this is one of them basically for the reason you just mentioned. In the sense that we get to see it all pieced together as we discover it with a character. So it is almost like a Tarantino film in the sense that it's like, well, why did that happen? But and we see a dramatic event and then work our way back to it.
Drew, any input?
Yeah,
You've been
as
quiet. You've been
a
quiet.
virgin flyer on the Memento film because you literally just saw it a matter of hours ago.
Yeah,
correct?
I'm still kind of trying to process all of it. It's definitely one of those movies that you get a lot out of it the first time you see it, but I feel like I'm definitely gonna get more out of it the more that I watch it. Like especially now knowing,
But did you like the reveals as it went? See that
most
that's why
definitely.
I
Most
recommend
definitely.
this movie overall, just because the reveals that you get are gratifying, confusing, but to a point where you get the payoff.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think you're hearing what is it? Leonard Sheldon.
I think that's his name. Yeah.
Leonard Sheldon's
Lenny.
Lenny. You're hearing Lenny's last story in like vigilantism. And I think that's one of the great things because Teddy kind of hit himself as a cop who was kind of unsatisfied with the system.
Right.
And he was the cop on Leonard's case. So he helped him out with it, and he saw that, he ultimately wasn't satisfied because they had killed the actual guy a year previous to this.
Right.
And I think Teddy gives Leonard a bit of life and purpose. So instead of like, oh, hey, we're going to stick you in some home.
I'm gonna be exactly.
We're going to give you purpose because you can't remember. The last thing you remember is your wife being murdered, and you can't form new memories. So, you're on a constant quest for vengeance.
Detective Lenny from now on.
Well, the thing is, Drew and Pete, this is the last story. This is the last story of vengeance. Because think about it. He has the tattoo of the license plate. What is it, like SG1?
Right.
Yeah.
To
Something,
remind
something.
himself. Yeah.
That it's Teddy or John Gamble. And the thing is, if you think about it, the Lennys have kind of, he's created an unsolvable puzzle for himself,
Yeah.
so he can be on a constant quest for redemption for what happened to himself.
Right. So at the end of the
Gives
day,
us-
this is like it's a sad movie at the end of the day because the guy who we're essentially following, hoping he figures out what happens, and at the same time we're dying to know what happens, as well as audience. We get a reveal that he's basically just a psychologically broken person.
He's
who's
stuck in a
stuck
loop.
in a loop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of movies like 12 Monkeys or something like that, where it's almost the reveal is unsettling in the sense that they really can't win no matter what. It's almost like when you watch like almost like a movie like Cabin in the Woods or something at the end. It's like they're trapped in here no matter what.
Well, that's the interesting thing about the character progression, because you see where it starts and you see him exact his vengeance.
Right.
But at the end of the movie, you realize that this is the story of his last bit of vengeance against somebody who he thinks somebody he thinks he's found as the murderer of his wife.
Right. And it's
And-
surprising because it's like poor Teddy almost at the
Well,
end
yeah.
of the
Well,
story.
that kind of makes Lenny a pretty shitty person because, like, he
he
knowingly
is,
knows.
but he's a shitty person because he can't even handle. He doesn't even know.
Right.
You know, he's a cop trying to figure out a mystery.
Yeah.
As far as he's concerned.
But he can't. He's always forgetting the clues.
Exactly. So he has to tattoo himself. I think overall, like, this is it's a reason I think we have these discussions to explore what actually happened to see if we can recommend it to everyone. And this is a movie I would definitely recommend.
You know
I'm
what?
watching it again.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I mean, despite the Batman franchise, and I've noted The Prestige is a good movie, but I'm just not particularly
your
crazy
thing,
about
yeah.
it. Is Nolan one of the best storytellers of our time?
I mean, of our time, I would say yes, even based on the conversation we had previously. I mean, we got to see one of the best villains ever portrayed, and a timeless villain that people always want to see portrayed.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to see the Joker, and he knocked it out of the park. I mean, obviously the acting was there, script, what have you, who knows?
Directing.
Yeah. So it becomes a question. It's like how well it's told, but I think storyteller, I wouldn't go that far. If I had seen his later films, like most people have not seen Memento, I would assume.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it was widely, well received or viewed by a lot of people. But if I looked at most of like Nolan's stuff, just straight out, I wouldn't say he's the best storyteller. But then you see this, and this is an interesting storytelling sort of thing. I think he's very good with imagery and very good with characters. See, oddly enough, I would call back to The Prestige. I think like The Prestige is actually one of the better stories.
Yeah.
Open shut. We learn about the characters. We see the daughter at the end. We get everything, all the loose ends tied up, and learn and grow about who these people were. Memento, we get that, but it's more of a dramatic reveal. The other ones are more action sort of films where it's a good, not a good story, but we have good characters along the way, and it's more of the spectacle. So to answer your question, no? Question mark?
No, that's fine. I mean, I can understand. Personally, he's probably one of my favorite directors out there. He's doing it in movies.
And he's also a class act, I hear. He always shows up to set like a 3-piece suit, like no matter what.
Well, I mean, listen, at that point, like, it's a man who understands film.
Right.
It's just like you want to have that. You want to have that professional air about you, and I mean, Drew, you've been on sets before, and I mean, you don't want a director who's all messy and kind of like up in the air because.
Well, you want someone who you can trust and you know isn't gonna fucking.
Well, that as well, but you know what the thing is? I think Nolan. I mean, my parents have talked to me about this all the time. Like, representation of what you look like is a representation of kind of like your personality. I mean, despite the fact that you're in like gym shorts and like a gray shirt.
Well, I did come from.
It's
work,
just
too.
it's comfortable. We're comfortable, but you're not a director.
Right.
If I was a director,
If I was directing, I probably wouldn't be wearing.
I know
Nike
what you
shorts
mean.
and my Wissahickon
you know
high
what I
school
mean? It's
t-shirt.
just like you kind of want to come with the ambiance, showing that you're a professional and that you can run a set, especially on big budget movies like Man of Steel or.
And that's why George Lucas is a hack, ladies and gentlemen. Wow.
Hear, hear.
Look at that guy.
Here.
I have a quick question about George Lucas. When he sold to Disney, did you see the photo of him?
No.
Oh.
Was
All
it a nightmare?
Vet for me.
Okay. Was it just a total nightmare?
Just vet for me. Talk about fucking some.
Well, I will, but we're going to look at an image that no one else can see.
A lot of people have seen it. I'll post it on the.
Yeah, just make it the image for the episode. and see and say a la Memento, how did we get to this?
Well, no, you said George Lucas is a hack.
No, I know, but they would have to get to this point.
It'll
That's
either be
what I'm
that or the
saying.
picture that we
And
have.
if you're
John,
listening to this right now, I think you'll be very happy in many respects.
it'll either be that or the picture of John's half-eaten iced tea.
Yeah, he ate a
container.
cup, ladies and
This is
gentlemen.
fucking disgusting.
He's leaving
dude.
Memento. Are you Memento, John? Are you Leonard?
I am Leonard.
Is that why you
There's
chew
like
the
hair
cup?
in the
You're
cup
gonna be disgusted.
That's pretty terrible. Yeah, how did we get to this? Well,
Well, you said George
Oh my
Lucas is a hack.
God.
no, I know. I think that will be the tagline, though. You know what I mean? That can be posted
How
as
did
the
we get-
episode.
how did
And
we
I think
get
if
to
you
this?
listen this far, you'll be gratified. That's all
What
I'm
a
saying.
Fucking asshole.
I think at the end of the day, we all recommend Memento, especially if you've enjoyed Nolan's later works, to see kind of what launched him in some respects, and to see a sort of different style of Nolan film, because I think you picture kind of the colors, pacing that you now have grown to become accustomed to, like in Prestige,
If
Dark
you know,
Knight.
if we're still talking about Memento, I have another question.
Lay it on us.
What the fuck happened to Guy Pearce? He was such a great
I was
actor
going to
in
ask
that.
that.
movie.
He's still in like Disney films and stuff, right?
Is that what he's
Well, no,
doing?
he was in Lockout, and now he was in the latest Iron Man movie.
Now,
he was in
okay.
Prometheus.
Great movie that yeah, he was in Prometheus recently, and I was very happy to see Guy Pearce, but not happy to see Prometheus. Anyway, one really good movie that I think is worth revisiting and analyzing and recommending to people is you ever see L.A. Confidential?
No.
Mm-mm.
This is one of those movies. John and I are both big SLC punk fans.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies I can watch like once a year and just
Yeah.
love and soak in.
It's with what is it? Kevin Costner.
This is Russell Crowe, Kevin Spacey,
Oh,
and
Kevin
Guy
Spacey,
that's what I
Pearce.
meant.
Need I say more? You got gentlemen will watch that and talk about that next week?
Yeah, I'm totally down.
I'll
This
have
is a
to,
movie
yeah.
that I think everyone should watch, and I hope you guys feel the same way. But I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Oh, no.
Gentlemen, do you have any parting words?
Oh, we're not taking one of our patented breaks?
No, I think we're just going to close it out here. I think we said what we need to say.
I'm trying to think. Drew, what are your like final thoughts on Memento?
I really enjoyed it. I was worried about when I heard it was like one of those out of order, movies and having
Mhm.
to piece shit together.
I always
but-
take that with a grain of salt
yeah.
myself.
But no, I really enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it to anybody.
All right.
that wants
One pro and con of the movie.
it. One pro. I thought all the acting was really well done.
Mhm.
One con. I don't know. I didn't really have anything negative to say about the movie. Which
Right.
I think that's reason enough to go check it out. But
Yeah, my pro would be all the reveals are done well.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
characters, as Drew said, were cool. But you can follow the whole thing through. I'd say the only con is the whole reveal is the reveal. It's a movie of mini reveals to get to one reveal where, as we said earlier, it's just kind of sad. But I wouldn't let that deter you from watching the film by any means. Netflix it if it's on there.
Oh, it is on Netflix.
That's how I watched it today
It's
at
wor-
work.
It's worth it. I have it on DVD, so that's why I watched it.
Do you
I
have?
have a lot of twist movies going back to our last cast on DVD. I've noticed. I have The Prestige on DVD.
Not to plug Memento one last time because we love it so much. But do you own the special edition DVD where it's like a notebook and it has all?
No. But I
I-
have seen friends with.
I
that.
own it, and it has the weirdest selection menu, where it's just like it shows. It's kind of like the Rorschach test, where it's just like, oh, match these things up.
Okay.
There's not an actual like play movie button.
Well, how sad to think the DVD like selection screen menu is like a little art that will probably go by the wayside eventually, but then come back in some other form, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Christopher Nolan did the DVD. Well, he didn't do the DVD art. I'm not sure he was there, but he has to finalize that kind of stuff. But that DVD menu is one of the most awesome DVD menus I've ever seen because it makes you feel like you're the character themselves.
Mhm.
Like, so you're kind of in preparation. You're like, I'm kind of confused, and you're going into the movie confused. You're like,
See, I love that little
how
interactive
did-
art form.
how did I press play?
I did walk.
How did I start the movie?
Yeah, well, I'm a 26-year-old male, and I'm single, actually actively trying to meet people, and I'm willing to admit I played the Kung Fu Panda DVD Select game for like 2 hours one day, completely sober. That was pretty bad.
But to me, I would highly suggest Memento. I think it's one of the greater thrillers told. I think I agree with Pete. The reveals are great, and the con, like, it's kind of sad, but it's sad in like
What are you gonna do?
an
I think
understandable way.
Yeah, I think at the end of the night, summation, if Christopher Nolan has touched it, probably worth watching at least once in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But definitely Memento.
I'll
Take a
agree,
look at
I'll
it.
agree with that.
All right, gentlemen, any parting words for our fair listeners?
I've talked too much tonight.
See, I beg to differ, and I love it.
Great.
Good.
Yeah.
Drew, you have any parting words?
King of Falafel tonight?
King of Falafel. No, I had those pub fries.
Yeah.
The
We both did.
The New York Mets swept the Yankees in the Subway Series.
Oh, fuck
Yeah.
sports. Get
and
sports
I'm
out
very,
of the podcast.
I'm very happy about it. Sorry.
Well,
Just-
Drew just needs to share his happiness.
yeah. Can I be happy, John?
You know what? I'm gonna do a new suggestion. I'm gonna do John's movie suggestion of the week.
Okay.
I'd say look out for Daisy.
Okay.
That's coming out June 21st. And you know what movies really piqued my interest? The East.
Okay.
Have you seen the trailer for the East?
No, I
Okay,
haven't.
watch
I'll
the
check it
trailer
out.
for the East. But I'd say the trailer for the East has piqued my interest. And look out for World War Z. It's supposed to be really good. The pre-reviews.
Very interested. I have a lot of mixed feelings about that. Well, maybe we'll talk about that next time. Definitely, you guys want to check out LA Confidential, though? Hopefully I
Yeah,
get it to
definitely.
you guys. It's really worth watching. So next time we'll have a chat about that. Maybe we'll delve into the East or World War Z trailer because I have very mixed feelings having read the book.
I've
We'll
read
talk-
the book too. I have the
Maybe we'll
books.
talk about that next time. How reading the book can ruin your perception of something.
Yes, seriously.
We'll get into that next time. This has been John's put the mic in his mouth, and I'm
blowing
hoping
the
I
microphone.
hope you're taking the headphones out of your ears. This is Pete for Drew and John saying mahalo.
Mahalo.
Go Mets.
TTFN.
That's right. Good night, everyone.